Hey everyone, welcome to hashtag Malkin Live. And I want to thank everyone who's watching me on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter right now. I've got a super duper important guest. And as I teased for you yesterday, I've got Vincent James from Red Elephants, who was just banned, had all, I believe it's 4 of his channels banned yesterday, unceremoniously, hadn't had any kind of strikes, no warnings. I think it's been a year. We'll talk to him about all the details of that. But I want to open up with a quote from Tiffany Trump from last night's Republican National Convention. It really was one of the very few mentions all night long yesterday. And then, of course, with the opening night on Monday night, I think this is pretty much it when it comes to any kind of nod by the Republican National Convention towards the war that's being waged by Silicon Valley against MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, nationalist America firsters. Let's tune into this.
And what you share, if it does not fit into the narrative that they seek to promote, then it is either ignored or deemed a lie, regardless of the truth. This manipulation of what information we receive impedes our freedoms. Rather than allowing Americans the right to form our own beliefs, this misinformation system keeps people mentally enslaved to the ideas they deem correct. This has fostered unnecessary fear and divisiveness amongst us. Why are so many in media and technology, and even in our own government, so invested in promoting a biased and fabricated view? Ask yourselves, why are we prevented from seeing certain information? Why is one viewpoint promoted while others are hidden? And
good question, Tiffany Trump. And right now I'm bringing in Vince James. Hey, Vince, how are you?
How are you doing? Yeah, that was one of the only mentions of social media censorship during this entire thing. You're right. And also on the Trump agenda for the newest agenda that was released as well. I didn't see anything about social media censorship on there, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You know, you have been such a tireless content creator on YouTube. How long had you been on YouTube before this happened this week?
Not as long as many others who have been taken off of YouTube. There are many others who have been taken off of YouTube who have been on YouTube for over a decade. I've been on YouTube since, I would say, probably 2014 is when I started. So not that, 6 years, not crazy long like some people, but I had 4 channels, and all of those channels were taken off simultaneously, and they're all under different emails too. One of them didn't even have any content on it, but they said that it violated the terms of service, and so they chopped me down.
Yeah, and so this clearly is some sort of coordinated effort, and clearly the latest in this extension of this ongoing slow motion purge of America Firsters, nationalists, traditional conservatives. Talk to us about the 4 channels. And of course, I was so honored to join you. What was the first time we did a view? I guess it was last fall when I was on my book tour, maybe?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, right?
It was like last year. I think you came on the show, and then I went on your show, I think, and then you came back on my show again.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to you just a couple of days ago because I said we should be talking about the 80, now you have welcome to the ADL target list.
Yeah.
It seems every time that they target someone, hopefully you're going to be fine. You're going to keep all of your stuff. But, I was one of the last remaining ones on this ADL Anti-Defamation League target list. And they took me down yesterday. So the 4 channels, I had one that was, I think I went over this on my D-Live stream yesterday. I'm trying to remember. I had one that was called Conservative Fatherhood. This one didn't have any content on it, but I created this channel it was basically going to be like a vlog channel where I would just go out and do things with my kids, like go to the shooting range or go camping and things like this. And it wasn't really going to be explicitly political at all, aside from the name there. it didn't even have any content on it, but they took it down and they said it violated their terms of service. Also, I had the main channel, the Red Elephants, which had reached just over 300,000 subscribers. They took that down. The second channel, which was Vincent James, which had 61,000 subscribers, they took that down. And then there was another channel that was called Daily Reaction, which I just started because I saw that YouTube was suppressing my reach. So before, it used to be the case where 90% of the people who viewed my videos were unsubscribed to my channel. That completely flipped after they demonetized me. And it's about 99% of the people who viewed the videos were subscribed to the channel. And so they were suppressing the reach and suppressing the potential for me to grow and get new viewers. Well, after that, I wanted to just sort of test the algorithm. So a couple of weeks ago, I started this new channel called The Daily Reaction. It got over 12,000 subscribers within just a couple of days. And I just got approved for the YouTube partner program. And then yesterday morning at 7 a.m., from what I'm hearing, because I was alerted to this by other people, they just completely axed all 4 channels under 3 different emails. And I never had a strike on any of the channels. I haven't had a strike for like a year, no warning. The only reason is that you violated our terms of service. That was the reason that they gave. So,
you know, we have a lot of intersection of fans and followers. And what a lot of people appreciate so much about your content, which, as I mentioned, you're just tireless. I think you were one of the most prolific content creators, in this movement, is that it was always fact-based. You used a lot of data, you cited statistics and studies and peer-reviewed journals, and where is the violation of the terms of service? So it's funny because before you came on, people were chatting beforehand and someone smugly said, one of these trolls said, well, I'll never get kicked off because I follow the rules. What are the freaking rules, right?
Yeah, the rules are very ambiguous. Like we don't know what they are.
Yeah. And what was some of the last content that you had posted before you got this notice from a reader or a viewer that these channels have been yanked?
The last notice that I got was just well, I mean, honestly, the first time that I found out about this was from other people. Like right. I woke up, I had like text messages and other things and emails and stuff saying that your channels have been nuked. And I was like, oh, here we go. And so I looked down my Gmail, my email account, which they so graciously allowed me to keep. Usually they don't do that, from what I hear. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, I looked at my Gmail account and I saw this email from YouTube. And then I looked at my second Gmail account, same thing. And third Gmail account, same thing. And all of the channels have been gone. And this was the email that I got. And I guess I can just... Where is it here? I guess I can just read it completely. It's just a short little blurb. It's such a corporate response. And I think I've lost it somewhere in my email already. But basically what they said was that we have received a complaint about your channel. And we are sorry to inform you that after review, we have terminated your channel because it violates our terms of service. That's effectively what this whole thing said. But the first thing that they start out with is that we've received a complaint about your channel. It's like, there's no way that you received a complaint about all 4 of my channels. One of them didn't even have content on them. The other one was completely brand new.
Yes.
There's no way that you received complaint about all 4 channels.
Right.
At the same time and axe the channels.
Yes.
Especially the one with no content.
Exactly. And so to respond to this troll who made this smug content, it's not about the content. It's not about that's all pretextual, right? This is because people like you and me and Nick Fuentes and Steve Franson and Alex Jones and all have been lumped in together and slimed by the same entities, whether it's ADL or SPLC. And there are people who are working inside of these Silicon Valley organizations or adjacent organizations to push us off all of these platforms. So you're broadcasting now on D Live, and I also just want to mention that all of your content is backed up, and you're also producing new content on BitChute as well. Is that correct?
Right. So I'll just go to BitChute and D Live. Those will be the two places that I go to. Probably we'll be able to also host videos soon on our own website. And then within 3 to 6 months, hopefully we'll have something to where we'll be a solution to all of this. So we'll have to see what happens here. And not just for me, but for many other people.
Right. Sounds good. You look at the Tiffany Trump quote that I played at the beginning there, and you contrast that or compare it to the promises that we've gotten from Tiffany's dad about this administration doing something to stop this from happening. We had an executive order announced, and since that time, more and more people just continue to disappear. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, honestly, my thoughts on that were quite selfish. I have to be honest. When I was a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking, if I can just make it, I see these people going down around me. I take that back. I've covered basically all of the very prominent YouTubers, conservative political YouTubers that have been taken down. We have a whole list up on our website, theredelephants.com. It's under an article entitled the channels that have been taken down by YouTube and where to find them. We link to all of their BitChute channels and DLive channels and things like this. And I'll try to link it in the live chat if I can pull it up here. But my thoughts were, if I can just make it to the election, as I'm seeing people go down around me, if I could just make it past the election, then there's basically, there's really not too much incentive to take me down after the election, right?
Right.
Maybe they'll let go a bit. Maybe they'll back off a bit. If I can just make it past November, 60 days. What is it? I'm a couple of months shy. So
yeah, you were hanging there, right?
It was like at the end, and then all of a sudden I'm like on the racetrack, and right there at the finish line, all of a sudden my hamstring pops.
There, I pulled it up here for folks. This is the piece on theredelephants.com. And I also just put the link in comments for everybody for our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter/Periscope users. And for people who don't know a lot about you, you are a father of 3, a family man, and you are a self-made entrepreneur online. This was your primary means of making a living. It is absolutely devastating. But what I loved about the video that you did about this, that you just put up on BitChute, is your FM attitude. You are not a victim in this, or at least, you don't certainly have that pose of whining about this. Talk more about, what this means, personally to you, because like I said, I mean, this is how you put bread on the table. Yeah,
I think, AOC talking about bread. Yeah, I'm not going to go out and start rioting or looting or beating up random people because I need to put bread on my table. That's not my thing. But probably what I'm going to do is work harder. That's probably what I'm going to do. Obviously, as I described in that video on BitChute, regular terms of employment are off the table based on what the media has reported about me. I did have a job of 13 years. I worked for an ad agency, printing company. Then one day, they called me into the office after an article was passed around the office about me, and it was from OC Weekly, and the article was entitled Orange County's Scariest People. I was one of those Orange County's scariest people because of my political beliefs, which is super odd because I'm one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet.
I can vouch for that for sure.
And that was it. And so, and then actually one of the parts of that story that I haven't told, that I didn't tell in that BitChute stream, is that since I was so good at since I had the book of business, I mean, I wasn't the best, but I was fairly decent at what I did. And I had a book of business. I had a couple of really high quality clients that would follow me. And I went directly to our competitor And they were like, yeah, that's it. I was getting ready to sign the papers. They were offering me this, that, and the other. And I was good. I got a job literally 10 minutes after I got let go. 10 minutes after I got let go, I went right to our competitor. And they're like, yeah, you're fine. And then all of a sudden, got a ring in from their HR manager. And they're like, whoa, hold on a minute. Probably Googling my name. And they're like, oh, and then they're just like, hold on, and then days pass by. I signed the thing. I had the packet.
Yeah.
Days pass by, and they're like, well, we got to just let our HR manager do their job. And that was it. I'd never received a response from, and then that's when I knew. It's like all in with this. And you can just sweep the rug out from under you. But like I said, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to go on BitChute. I'm going to go on DLive. Got the website. Got a couple of writers, subscribe, start Patreon. We got merch. We're gonna try and do this the whole way, and because it's very important to have to make sure that this information is provided to the people, because there are few and far between, and it's getting fewer and far between of people who are able to combat the mainstream media narrative effectively, because they're going one by one by one. And whether the Trump administration wants to address this or not, or talk about this or not, we cannot go forward without social media. We need a seat at the table, like the stuff with the Covington Catholic kids and how, we were able to share the truth about the Covington Catholic kids, which eventually led to them suing the mainstream media, the truth about some of these like sensationalized and racialized Black Lives Matter stories. That will not happen without alternative media. The mainstream media is not going to share links to the document talking about George Floyd's fentanyl, lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. Like, the mainstream media is not going to tell you the truth about the Covington Catholic kids. It's up to us to be able to do that, but we can't do that without social media. So
yeah, that is absolutely right. By the way, tons of people are asking about the merch. They love the hats. I got mine here, and you can go to the shop at theredelephants.com. And I'm going to make sure that everybody gets all the links to where.
Well, instead of that, go to Amazon and get Michelle Malkin's book. I always mispronounce your name. I'm sorry. You've never corrected me on that, by the way.
I
pronounce it with like a short A, but it's Malkin.
Yeah.
And I've said M-A, like ma, instead of ma.
Yeah.
Malkin. Go to Amazon and get Michelle Malkin's book, Open Borders Inc., instead of merch from our website.
Look at that. It's Endorse-a-Palooza. So let's just dive into a lot of the content, a lot of the news stories. This is why you were banned, is because you're not allowed to talk about it. And that's why I absolutely had to have you on, as long as I have my platforms on. And you've obviously been following the Jacob Flake thing. I think the last time
that's funny.
Like,
yeah.
Flake. The last time we did something together, I think it was the Ahmaud Arbery thing, right? So we go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. It's a perpetual fake racial BLM cycle is the subject of my column this week. And now, of course, there's new video, which you're not going to get on corporate media. It's either through local sources or independent journalism sources, of a different vantage point that shows that
Jacob Flake, yeah, fentanyl Floyd,
Floyd, and Flake Jake
right.
Had been scuffling with the police on the ground behind the car, and either had some kind of weapon, maybe a knife, and had been tasered and was able to get away from the police and was evading arrest when he got shot.
Yeah, I think that, it's so crazy to me that we still don't even know if this guy was pulling a weapon. Like, was he pulling a weapon? I mean, he's known to be, he's done this before, right? He's pulled a gun on people before. The police probably know this. They know that he has a potential to pull a gun or pull a knife. There was reports from the Associated Press initially that said that the police were screaming, "Drop the knife, drop the knife." This was in the Associated Press article that I went through. Also, there was another article from Heavy, which mentioned a report that said that he was threatening to grab a gun from his car after he walked around to his car. So, we don't know what's happening. And it's almost like with George Floyd. Now, what we're hearing is that there might not even be body camera footage, that there might not even be body cameras on these cops. But just like with George Floyd, they hid that body camera footage for months until it was leaked by Daily Mail. They weren't going to release this body camera footage because they knew that it showed George Floyd complaining about having trouble breathing before being taken to the ground by cops. It showed him foaming at the mouth. It showed him having an overdose on fentanyl, basically. And so this is almost the same scenario where I'm not hearing any new news about this. Like, where's the information? Why are we just like letting this go? Why are we just letting this rage on here?
Yeah, right. And then with regard to George Floyd, there's new developments now. However, it's been 70, 75, almost 80 days now of, I think this is obviously coming from the defense lawyers of one of the police officers, that he swallowed this lethal dose of fentanyl. And now there are new autopsy records that, this retreats from the reshaped narrative of the coroner that it had to do with, asphyxiation, as opposed to what he initially had said, which now we're coming back to back to the drug overdose.
Right. Well, I see it though. But here's the thing is that respiratory arrest, there are different types of asphyxiation from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I look at the studies about fentanyl overdose, asphyxiation can be caused by fentanyl overdose. Respiratory arrest, cardiopulmonary arrest, where your lungs shut down and then your heart, that is one of the top symptoms of fentanyl overdose. And so what this new report shows is that he probably took a bag of drugs that he had and swallowed it when he saw the cops, the meth and the fentanyl.
Right.
And he had like 11 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl in his system, whereas the average of fentanyl dosage in fentanyl overdose victims is 9 nanograms per milliliter. So he was well above the standard dosage for overdose. And what they're arguing here is that he would have died, that the medical examiner would have ruled this a fentanyl overdose under any other circumstances. This is what this new report says.
Yeah.
And this is what the police lawyers are saying. And we haven't seen anything yet in terms of riots. Just wait until these cops get off, because they're not going to get murdered too.
Yeah.
And the problem is just like we saw with Darren Wilson, which I know you covered with Michael Brown, is that he got off because hands up, don't shoot never happened, but his life is ruined forever. And this is what they want. This is their goal, is that these cops, if they do get off, their lives are going to be ruined forever. And furthermore, Jacob Blake garnered over $1 million in a GoFundMe within a matter of a 24-hour period. He got over $1 million on his GoFundMe. And this guy is a guy who has a sexual assault charge on his record, reportedly a teenager. We don't know that part, but the sexual assault charge is true. And they just keep propping up and memorializing the worst of the worst. And it's just disgusting. And then Cannon Hinnant, he surpassed Cannon Hinnant's GoFundMe because the media won't cover the Cannon Hinnant story.
Yeah,
in a day.
Yeah, that's right. They say one name, but not the other. And I think that's interesting that you mentioned the GoFundMe, because of course, you can be the worst serial criminal offender and you're allowed to raise money on that platform. But if you're a police officer, if you're an armed citizen who's trying to raise money for a legal defense fund, good luck.
Right.
Right. I've helped raise money for Stephen Baca, who's the armed citizen in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was
banned, share that link.
Right. He was banned from GoFundMe. His account was banned from Facebook. And so far, there's an alternative platform that's allowing me to raise money for him. But obviously, our days are numbered, right? Because who's going to raise money now? And how are you going to be able to raise money for the young kid in Kenosha? Right. And let's talk about that. He was just charged with first-degree murder. This is Kyle Rittenhouse, the kid who was videotaped yesterday with an AR-15, had been beaten with a skateboard, and was being attacked by an entire mob. I'm not sure, I don't know how much you followed it, whether it is actually true that he was a fugitive from justice. He lived in Illinois and had gone to Kenosha to be a part of some sort of organization or loose organization of people who were defending business.
Right.
It's also not clear, and I'm sure you saw this too trending last night on Twitter, all somebody has to do is whisper boogaloo and, people go nuts, but it's not really clear what his political leanings are one way or the other. It doesn't matter. It's already fossilized that he's, some sort of white supremacist. He's a 17-year-old kid. What did you make of the videos that you saw? And
wait a minute, he's a 17-year-old kid and he's being charged with first-degree murder?
Yes.
Interesting, because from the Frederick County Fair incident that we saw last year, there was a 17-year-old man who punched a white guy in the face, and it was a bunch of teens, as they call them, right?
Yes.
Who ganged up on this white man at this fair and just punched him, just knocked him out for no reason. He fell to the ground, bashed his head against the ground, and died. This kid got anger management. Because he was a troubled teen.
Yes, that's right.
Whereas this guy was not attacking someone. He was defending himself as they chased him down. One guy had a pistol while chasing him down. This was the guy with the rifle that tripped and fired. This guy was defending himself. Clearly, he was defending himself based on the footage that I saw. Mm-hmm. But he gets first-degree murder, charged as an adult.
Yes. Yeah. I've just got to pull up the that
white privilege or something else. Very interesting. Right.
Absolutely. I've got to pull up the Revolver News story on that anger management sentence, because that just happened last week. Yeah, there it is. Let's see. And he was, like you said, what was he? 16 at the time, 17 now. But, just a poor little kid. Just a misguided youth. As they, right? Youth.
Exactly.
Youth. Yeah, I worry about what kind of legal defense this kid is going to have. The latest that I read is that he has been assigned a public defender, and I've tried to figure out how to reach out to this kid, but a source of mine who was able to get in touch with one of his family members said that they're terrified. They've been doxxed. The court record that announced the arrest has the kid's apartment address listed unredacted. So
wow. And they released that?
Yeah, they did. It's all over the internet. Yeah. And so here's my question too, and especially as somebody who has covered so many of these encounters, where's the NRA? Where are the Second Amendment establishment DC organizations? And what do we do about that? Because, so many of these people are unprepared. They're just ordinary citizens, unprepared for the legal onslaught, the media onslaught, the defamation, everything that comes along with it. There's hundreds of millions and billions poured into pretending that the Republican Party and conservatives are on the side of self-defense. And yet when this kind of thing happens, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they don't really want to upset Black Americans in our country. So we won't see anything coming out of the NRA or the GOA, especially with their new spokesperson for the GOA, Antonia Okafor, who has tweeted out articles regarding possibly going along with this Black Lives Matter narrative and defunding the police and other articles. And sounds like she's putting something ahead of America and our Constitution, and she's going along. It sounds like she's inching further towards this whole Black Lives Matter. So I don't think we'll be hearing anything from the gun owners of America or the NRA anytime soon, or any conservative politician for that matter, because they're too afraid to upset the ones who cannot be held accountable in our country at all for anything.
Yeah. It was a glimpse or a glimmer of hope on Monday night when the McCloskeys were highlighted for a couple of minutes to talk about what happened to them in St. Louis. But it's just such a roller coaster having to sit through this convention, because you just get a tiny little crumb every once in a while that you have to hang on to from this administration and from the Trump campaign. Are they doing enough? Do you think that those of us who voted for him over these core fundamental sovereignty issues, and the fact that he was supposed to put the forgotten men and women first, are they giving enough crumbs out to make sure that we turn out at the polls and not just sit at home?
I don't know. It's the enthusiasm thing. I'll tell you one thing, that this is potentially causing, maybe all of these riots that are happening right now might turn out the people needed to replace the enthusiasm gap that we have from 2020, from 2016, because enthusiasm was extremely high in 2016 because we saw what Trump was running on. We saw what he promised to do. A lot of that didn't come to fruition. But I'll tell you what, over the last couple of months, I have been liking what I've been seeing in terms of immigration and cutting legal immigration and refugee resettlement and a couple of other things that the Trump administration has done. It's just there's a lot of things that are really important, and they really don't seem to be being addressed. Also, the messaging from the Republican Party should not be, well, please stop rioting because we had a low black unemployment rate. That should not be the message from the Republican Party. The Republican Party should come out and address this with force. They should be all about law and order. They should be all about making sure that these people face fierce, strict repercussions for their actions, especially the ones tearing down our monuments and statues and burning down buildings. These people should be in prison. And this should be the message from the Republican Party. It should be about restoring law and order, not capitulating and ceding ground to the mob, basically crying out or begging for them to stop rioting because of our low black unemployment rate or something,
Yeah.
or our opportunity zones that we're going to be doing in 2020.
Right.
That's basically the messaging.
Right. Don't forget the historically black colleges and universities.
Right. HBCUs. Yeah. Look at all these things that we're doing for black people. Please stop rioting, guys. Please stop. And it's just this perpetual Devin Stack of the Black Pill channel describes this really well. It's almost like that kid in that Twilight Zone episode where if he said the sky was blue or the sky was green, you would say, yes, the sky is green, because he had these magical powers to incinerate you in an instant. And that's basically the same thing with this community, is that no one wants to upset them because they'll burn the city down. And so, this should not be coming from the Republican Party. We need some sort of opposition party. We need some representation in government. And that's just not, it just doesn't exist right now.
Yeah. And so this is what's so frustrating, because it seems to me, and, I'd like to get your thoughts on this, that President Trump, at his core, his instincts, right, are with us. And yet he keeps getting tugged and pulled towards the Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, establishment GOP view about all of these things. And that's why this convention just seems so schizophrenic. I mean, yesterday started out with a prayer for blessings for the Jacob Blake family.
I know, I saw that.
What do you do with that? And then, of course, if we even, make a squeak about it, we're told to be quiet because we can't be divisive and we have to concentrate and be grateful for all the good things that he did. I mean, it's just madness.
I mean, once again, they're just trying to appease. They're just trying to pander. That's the only reason why they did that. They're just trying to beg to these people, telling them, please stop rioting. Look how not racist we are. That's basically been the Republican response for a very long time. And it's just not the correct messaging. The messaging is just not there. And a lot of the reasoning behind this is probably due to the fact that a lot of the Republican Party, a lot of the GOP are just completely geriatric. They just don't get it. They just don't understand what's going on. I mean, while we have our cities burning to the ground right now, people getting shot, many shootings, just absolute chaos and all out war breaking out in our cities, in different cities across the country. While that's happening, the Republican Party is talking about the low unemployment rate and the Dow and the stock market coming back and cutting taxes for corporations and, you know, all of these different things. Where is the law and order party that we were promised in 2015?
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump tweets law and order, hell of a lot, but he never really reestablishes law and order. And I mean, honestly, we should be going the route of what Mayor Jay Daley once said back in the 1960s: shoot to kill, shoot to maim any rioters or arsonists on our streets. That was back when we had a country.
Amen.
But
Amen.
we're losing it very quickly.
Of course, if you tweet that, you'll get suspended on Twitter,
Right?
like I did, or shadow banned and throttled like President Trump did when he basically said that's the same thing a couple of months ago. So, you know, we're going to head into tonight's RNC and the next night. And it's so dreadful for me to have to force myself to watch it. I only saw the highlights on Monday because I couldn't do it.
Yeah. The first day was pretty good, though. The first day was okay.
Yeah. Well, it also had Nikki Haley and Tim Scott doing all that pandering that we're talking about. And like I said, we got the good crumbs. We got McCloskey. We got Sandman yesterday, who was fantastic. And it is really encouraging to see his lawyer, Lynn Wood, out there. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or see his messages, but he's become more emboldened about all of this. He had an extraordinary tweet. Oh, I meant to pull it up for you, talking about how he now sees this pattern among many of his clients who've been defamed, which is that they're accused not only of being racist, but he actually said this, Vince, also of being conspiracy theorists and anti-Semitic. It's like, really? He's starting to get it. I mean, eyes are being opened. And
this was, do you have that link? Is that up?
Yeah, I think it's still up. Let me see if I could find it. But you know, he's out there now. He's talking more about the need to fight back from a legal perspective against sliming. So here it is. Let me call it up for you so everybody can see this. Really noteworthy. I'm sure he's going to be on some hit lists very, very shortly because of his boldness. So just a reminder, everyone, this is Lynn Wood, who's the winning attorney for Nick Sandman.
Yeah.
Here it is. Let me see if I can do it full screen.
I was just talking about Lynn Wood yesterday, actually.
Oh my gosh,
I have some. I might need to. I'm going to see what they can do, but you know, obviously, suing the ADL would be like someone equated it to spitting into an ocean, you know, something like that, right? Or even being successful at it is few and far between. But yeah, we're gonna have to see. But I like this. They did this really good documentary about the Covington Catholic kids. Did you see that?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, it was a couple of years ago, or it was when it happened, right? When was that? 2018, something like that. Yeah. They did this really good documentary and it got millions of views. But yeah, let me see the.
Here it is. Let me read it.
Okay.
You can see it. I have closely observed a pattern with respect to my clients being falsely accused of being conspiracy theorists, racists, and anti-Semitic. The leftist militants will go to extraordinary lengths to further their agenda. They cannot defeat message, so they falsely accuse the messengers. Good stuff. Of course, you know, the next step in his enlightenment will be that it's not just leftist militants. Right? They couldn't do it alone. And there's a lot of collaborators in Con Inc. Who help make the unpersoning of dissident people possible. Yeah.
Very interesting. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like how I have to say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this. Never mind. I won't say this. Go ahead. Go on. Go ahead.
Yes. For offline.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that. So we have a couple minutes left. And so I just want to make sure that everybody knows where you are. By the way, I love your Instagram account. I really do. It's one of my must follows. I mean, if I miss videos on all of the other social media, you're posting videos there, basically like a riot roundup watch pretty much every night now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's crazy videos coming out, and they don't seem to really make the mainstream media too often.
Yeah, and in fact, it was on your Instagram account at the Red Elephants that I saw the horrible video of the elderly man. Was that Kenosha? That was Kenosha, right? Last night, who had been beamed in the head with one of those concrete-filled bottles.
Yeah.
Right, and then it was, I think, the person who was filming it who ended up helping him, assisting him. Just outraged that this was going on. What I noticed about that, and I remarked on this in my Twitter this morning, was you could hear a black girl shrieking, basically justifying the violence against this old man who was trying to protect his shop by saying that it happened because white people did not respect black people enough. Respect.
Right. This is the children of our society that Devin Stack talks about. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. And so you've got 3 kids. Are you homeschooling them? Are they doing some sort of online hybrid?
Basically they're homeschooled right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ask that because there are more and more stories now belatedly coming out about Black Lives Matter curriculum infiltrating the schools. And
I saw that. Yeah. I was just looking for that video. I couldn't find it. But yeah, I think it was it's like some random guy who was trying to defend his. You're talking about the one who was trying to defend his business, and he had a fire extinguisher putting out fires, and then these people just came up and just randomly attacked him. Once again, imagine if that was in the reverse. I mean, just imagine if any of these stories were in the reverse that we're seeing. The one in the daycare facility, where she threw the child down because he was getting into an argument with another black child. She just threw him to the ground. Like, imagine if Cannon Hinnant was in the reverse. Imagine the destruction that we would see. It's just so apparent. It's so apparent. And people just need to see these stories in order to just come to this realization. But of course, a lot of these videos are never touched on by the mainstream media. But anyway, go on. I'm sorry. I'm sort of getting sidetracked here.
Oh, not at all. And that's what your YouTube channels, which have been canceled unceremoniously, that's what they highlighted every single night. That's what you've been doing for the last 5 years, is talking about, you can't even call them double standards, right? When we talk about the double standards with regard to black on white crime. They have no standards at all. They don't care. They don't care about these victims. How many people even know about the knockout assault at that Montgomery County fair? And this happens all the time. It happens all the time, but you wouldn't know it.
Right. The teen that pled guilty to the Great Frederick Fair death. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Right.
Right. Yeah, but he gets anger management, and this guy gets tried as an adult first-degree murder.
By the way, I just was able to pull up on your Instagram that video. Let's play it for everybody. It's just really something else.
There might be well, you might be able to be fine. You might be fine. Go ahead. Sometimes YouTube doesn't like the violence things, but I don't know. What do I know? I was deleted. I did something wrong, but go ahead. Go on.
Well, it's kind of, we've been going on for a while. It's kind of buried in here, but we'll see. I'm sure someone's watching us anyway. Who cares? Here we go.
This poor man got his business caught on fire.
You might be able to full screen it too, like bottom right.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
Other way.
I had nothing to do with that. I'm trying to stop this shit here. Dude, I'm gonna help this guy. I don't give a fuck if I get beat up.
Sorry for the profanity, everyone. Turn it down if you're around kids.
They just threw a bottle at this guy. Hey! No! Sure. Are you okay? Turn his head. He was just defending his business, that's all he was doing. And they walked up and fucked him up. I have it all on video. Listen, all of it.
So hard to watch.
You deserve any of that. Any of it.
How do I turn it off?
This is just wrong, guys. Do you not see this? This is wrong.
It is wrong. It's so wrong. It's so hard to watch. So
Yeah,
hard.
impulse control.
Yeah, right.
Impulse control.
Not allowed to talk about that.
Nope.
You know, the when she put the camera on the concrete filled Gatorade bottle, it reminded me, and I also noted this morning on Twitter, that to this day, when Andy No is mocked by the leftists and the Antifa types for pointing out that he had been attacked with what he thought was a concrete milkshake, they all laughed, right? And here we are. It's a standard tactic to use that concrete as a weapon. So, I mean, this is a domestic terrorist organization. These things are being organized and coordinated. They were last weekend. Denver was part of it. You know, they're tearing up the fencing around all the federal courthouses, and the Justice Department is nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that what if that business owner defended his business with a gun, you know, instead, and maybe he had to shoot someone coming into his business. Like, gone are the days of the 1992 riots where, you know, where people would be able to sit on. Maybe they would if they're Asian, but but definitely not white business owners. They seem to always get attacked and they have their lives ruined or prosecuted or have their homes searched. We saw one of the highlights of the RNC was the McCloskeys, who spoke at the RNC. So, you know, Nick Sandman was another one. And so, you know, it's like, when are we going to have some sort of representation, not only in government, but with private organizations? Like, this is where, and I've thought a lot about this, like, this is where a lot of the money should go for people who are donors to the Republican Party. No longer should it funnel into like Republican candidates and campaign finance. Maybe a little bit should, but the left has figured out a long time that the correct place to put your money is in organizational structure, activism, some of these private businesses that are able to support their activism far better than Democrat candidates would be able to support their activism. And it's like, you were talking about this before, it's like the NRA, the GOA, like, where is our representation? We don't have it in government. Do we have it in these companies, these nonprofits? We don't see it there either. It seems like at every step of the way, no matter how egregious these actions are, no matter how crazy these riots get, these people are afraid and to come out in defense of the truth, of liberty, of justice. It's just so sad. It's so sad.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. If people, and I know there's so many people in our overlapping audiences who watch you now on DLive, BitChute, who are watching us now on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, who actually want to do something, right? And I think that is so important. Stop pouring your money down toilet holes like the GOP, the RNC, any of these useless DC-based groups. They're the real grifters, right? They make a lot of money pointing their finger at other people and accusing us of being hate mongers and smear merchants, while they're doing it, sitting pretty and not doing jack to help these ordinary people who walk the walk. And like I said, that's why I'm helping the Stephen Baca out. By the way, I just wanted to show you this because I don't know if you had a chance to see this. I know that you've been just overwhelmed like I have, but I found this similarity between Stephen Baca's case, the armed citizen in Albuquerque, and now this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse. I found this similarity very striking. So there are screenshots and video now of, let me see if I can get that full screen view, of the actual moment when each of these men were attacked that precipitated them having to draw their weapon. Okay. So this is the kid. And you'll see that one of the masked Antifa, I should be able to get that full screen, right? Here. One of the masked Antifa was wielding one of these skateboards, and bashed him while he was on the ground. You can see his AR-15.
Oh, I see your response there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so
right.
that's that. Now, take a look at this.
Stephen Baca, right.
Is the exact moment when Stephen was bashed over the head by a masked Antifa dressed in all black, just like the assailant in the scene last night in Kenosha, that forced him to draw his weapon as well. By the way, and I'm not going to bring it up right now because we just have a couple of seconds, but this, again, sort of noticing pattern recognition is really important. And
pattern recognition, that's true.
Right? And so at my Back the Blue rally in Denver, where we were besieged by a mob a month ago, there was a guy to the right of me before we got rushed on stage who was waving around his big longboard that was used to attack the organizer of our event, who was bloodied like just a couple of feet from me. So my last question has to do with the fact that you have a lot of people who are compelled to get out there. And the 17-year-old kid apparently was one of them. I mean, he traveled from a different state when he saw what was happening. And so what is your assessment of that, especially as somebody who is, you know, is definitely well-trained? And I mean, you work out and you know how to use weapons. And I've seen videos, your kids are being trained as well. Do you advise people to go out there and do this? And if they do, what's your advice?
Honestly, I mean, it's so shaky. It's for me to give advice. Like I'm not professionally trained, by the way. So don't listen to me. I like weapons training. I know the basics, right? I've been shooting for a long time. So I'm not professionally trained. If you want to get training, go to like a professional, someone who's a professional in like gun self-defense courses, things like this. Right. But I don't know what he did. I mean, he was just getting chased down in the street, and then he eventually tripped, and then this guy hits him with a skateboard. This guy also had a pistol in his hand.
Yes.
And he fires back as he's getting attacked. It's like, who's the attorney general in Wisconsin? Like, who's the prosecutor here? Is it another one of these George Soros funded people?
Yeah, good question. I don't know yet. We'll have to look. But yeah, that raises another question, which is, you know, if people do defend
He's a Democrat, Josh Cowell.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, you're putting your life in either way, you're putting your life in somebody else's hands, right? Either you're going to get killed or brain damaged by Antifa, or you're going to get thrown in jail by a Democrat attorney general or prosecutor.
Or beaten up by a Black Lives Matter activist. Like, choose your poison. I choose defend yourself.
Yeah.
I choose defend yourself. So
yeah, same. And once again, we come back to this issue that it's not the NRA, it's not YAF, it's not TPUSA that is equipping people properly to do this kind of thing. All the people who always say that they're fighting the culture war, you know, from the comfort of some green room somewhere.
Yeah, this is so crazy. I never saw. I didn't see this screenshot here. I'm gonna have to share that around.
Yeah, it's an MO. And like I said, I mean, this is a conspiracy, right? And it should be treated as such. We should have the joint terrorism task forces in every state, like collaborating on investigations of these people and bringing charges against them. But we haven't seen a single thing like that. You know, there's independent journalists who were beaten up years ago whose assailants still haven't been identified.
I guess, is there also a castle doctrine in
Wisconsin? That is a really good question. I mean, it's hard to, you know, people forget that Wisconsin at one point was Republican dominated. Wisconsin.
Right. Well, I think it will be again.
You think?
I think especially after all this, I think Wisconsin and Minnesota are going to, I think Minnesota is going to go red this time around. I think Michigan and Wisconsin will go again too.
Yeah. Oh,
we might save Michigan, but we might lose Michigan, but I think that for sure we have a chance at getting Minnesota this time. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. You know, one big factor in all three of those battleground states is going to be traditional Catholic voters. Catholic voters made the huge difference in the, you know, razor thin margin in Michigan, lot of Catholics in Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. I don't know if they outnumber the Muslim refugees in Minnesota.
Right.
Right. Yes, there is a castle doctrine in Wisconsin. Wisconsin law allows deadly force in self-defense in limited circumstances where the person defending themselves, quote, reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. That seems fairly obvious.
There's like no reason why this person should be charged at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, it cries out for some sort of, I know independent counsel or independent prosecutor laws or special prosecutor laws are always abused. But in this case, I mean, this Democrat has a vested interest in mollifying the mob. Let's just put it
Right.
Right. Okay. Last couple.
Also, another. I just have to mention this. You said the parallels between Michigan and Wisconsin. There's also another similar situation in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Is that Minnesota, the riots George Floyd, Wisconsin, the riots for Jacob Blake. Yes. Detroit and Michigan, there was almost riots for that guy who where the Detroit police chief released the body camera footage immediately. The guy pulled the gun directly and pointed it directly at the head of the police officer and fired it, attempting to execute him in cold blood in broad daylight. There were still protests after they fired back at him, by the way, which just goes to show you they don't care what these people do as long as they share the same skin color as them. They're going to protest and riot over them. They don't care if they have a sexual assault charge against a minor on their record. They don't care if they overdosed on fentanyl. They don't care if they robbed a pregnant lady. They don't care if they pulled a gun and fired directly at cops in the case of Detroit and Chicago, where they looted the luxury stores on Michigan Avenue, Magnificent Mile.
Yes.
They don't care what they do. Like, there's no limit. Like, the perpetrator could have done the worst of the worst that you could imagine to multiple children, trafficked children. And if he gets shot by a white cop or a white person in general, they will protest and riot over that person. They don't care as long as they share the same skin color. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
This is something that's very important for people to understand too. It's like, yes, they think it's about ideology. It's really not.
That is so important. And
right,
the thing about Con Inc., of course, is they'll go on and on about opposing identity politics, but they're very selective right about that, number one. And number two, if you point out these obvious things, as you do so trenchantly, and you have on your YouTube channels, which got you banned and deplatformed, then these same Con Inc. types who, make a lot of money posing as opponents of identity politics will call you a racist. First thing that they do. First and last thing that they do. Refuge of scoundrels on both the left and the right.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find you. RedElephants.com, theredelephants.com. That's where you can get this merch. I know everybody wants one. These are hot items right now. Hotter than any MAGA things, right? Right here. And then on Instagram at the Red Elephants. On D Live, when's your next video? When are you going to stream next? Do you know?
Probably. I'm going to take the whole show live on D Live. Probably next week. But I might stream again tonight. Today. So, and then BitChute, I'll be posting another video to BitChute today. Okay, fantastic. This is Telegram, which, you've built up. Right, Telegram. 15,000 followers. This is my favorite alternative medium. I like it. I like it way more than I like Parler. I like the people that are on it. I always find interesting things there. The boomer thing is like, oh, we just want something that copies Twitter. No, I love Telegram, and you're great on there. There's your dlive.tv/Vincent James. And I'm like an evangelist for this. I have an account. I haven't used anything on it yet. We joked about this before. I'm like an old school gamer, but like, I haven't thought about we should do something. Right. 100%. For sure. I'm down. I just saw this. There was like a scientific study that was just published about the far right networks on Telegram. Did you see that?
Oh God, no. Are they going after? I think that's a way of going after us, right?
Well, yeah, of course. They published Time magazine published a hit piece on DLive, and they're trying to come after us out after they've banned us, right? And they're trying to come after us on the free speech platforms.
Yeah, right. Right. And we're so nefarious. We're talking about like gaming Axis and allies together. That's our
Well, yeah, aside from like the politics, I mean, it's like they're calling us the radicalizers, right? We're not. We just talk about my whole show is basically statistics. I mean, that's basically what it's centered around. All the rest of the people that have been banned from YouTube, the ones that we highlight on our website, have been like, many of them had scripted videos. Many of them were just completely harmless content, never came even remotely close to violating the terms of service.
Yes.
But they call us the radicalizers. It's like, have you seen what the mainstream media lies about and how they don't share the full context? They don't share the full information. They don't even tell you what the science says about the Black Lives Matter narrative of racial bias in police shootings. And they do this, and they're radicalizing people because they do this, because they lie like this, and they withhold context like this, and they don't share certain stories if the perpetrators are the wrong type of perpetrator. This is radicalizing people to go out there and burn cities to the ground and cause violence and kill people. 30 people died in the George Floyd riots. So who's the radicalizers here? Who are the people truly radical? I think that we are putting some sense and logical conclusions out there, helping people refrain from just going off just going off and just going,
Yes.
you know, it's payback time. And I think that that's what they don't want. They don't want, you know, that sort of thing out there. They want to keep doing this to people.
Exactly. And one other thing I wanted to mention about, you know, your role in the movement too, is that you've always been willing to go out and debate anybody. And that is such a crucial thing that you do, is to actually debate people, right?
Right.
That's what we're supposed to use free speech for. And that never gets into any of these articles, right? You're just this sort of Svengali puppeteer figure who's just radicalizing and transforming minds with all of your hate and vitriol, rather than, I mean,
Right.
that's what people fear, right? They see you, and that's why I think the channel that you said you were going to start about being a parent was, why is that threatening? You didn't even have any content on it. Well,
No content at all.
no content at all. Maybe it's because you'd be appealing, you'd be persuasive, you're both informative and entertaining. And God forbid that people start to like you because you give parenting advice that makes sense to people. Can't have that.
Yeah, it's so annoying, honestly. It's just all so tiresome. It's just all so tiresome.
Oh, we have to laugh about it, I guess. And then one more, which is your BitChute.com channel at Vincent James. Vince, it's been so, I mean, I wish we didn't have to catch up this way. And like you said, we had been scheduled to do this on Friday before everything got unplugged.
Right.
So,
right, that's true.
But for now, it's going to be on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Ha!
Awesome. You're streaming to Facebook too, live?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. So the streaming software, do you have to, isn't there like, there's like an extra interface that you have to purchase to stream to Facebook, right? Through StreamYard, or is it?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, so I have like whatever, the pro version of StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah.
They just added Facebook as a new like add-on, so I can do all three at the same time.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we hit them all. You're everywhere.
Hello. Hello, Facebook people.
Yes. Thanks so much. Make sure you tune into Vince James. Indispensable. Take care.
I appreciate it. Take care.